welcome to the Home Trails podcast. So, just before we dive into the interview about the Arctic spine, I've just got a couple of quick ads to do. I don't normally, you know me, I'm not big on adverts, but I've been asked as a favour for a couple of ads. So, the first one is for where I'll find it for Rasselbach. So, obviously, a lot of you will know Rasselbach, famous for their backyard ultras and high quality races that they put on. So they're doing a test event, and he's asked me to sort of try and rally the troops basically. So they've not had many people sign up, so they need a certain amount of people for this new test race that they're doing. So I can give you some details, but I'm not allowed to give you um, all of the actual information. So I've got to be careful about what I say. So I might get told off if I give too much information. Well, basically, it's a secret test event. So obviously, this is something that they're thinking of turning into a race, an event going forward. It does sound very interesting, and it's not your usual race format. So basically, this is going to be a point-to-point, self-navigated, self-supported race, and you'll get a start point and you'll get an end point, and you need to get between these 2 points. So seems like kind of choose your own adventure type of thing. So however you get there is up to you. But throughout the race, there's certain tasks that you need to do along the way. Some can be done instantly, others you'll have to do along the routes. So there's no point in trying to pre-plan your route, as these challenges might take you off the beaten track in a different direction or lead you going around in circles. Basically, it says you might end up on a bus, you might end up visiting a candy floss factory, or very cryptic. So you can do this solo or a duo or a team of three. So you can either do it on your own as a double or as a triple. And you basically have got to all separately sign up and then just name your team. Now, the date of it is going to be the 25th of April. Um, so if you fancy getting involved with this, then you need to sort of get in touch directly with Rasselbox. So the bit I can give you is that it's going to be the start point is I don't think I'm giving away too much by saying this, that it's going to be in the Peak District. So you start in the Peak District and you are heading the finish will be right. Where is the start and finish line? So this information is out there. So I'll put a link to this in the episode so you can see this. So start line will be in the Peak District somewhere, and the finish line will be in Lincolnshire. So I think it's going to be right. Am I allowed to say how far? It's going to be a cut off of 30 hours. Uh, what we need to organise. I'm trying not to give too much information here, but I'll give you enough information. Well, basically, it's a point-to-point race. It's going to be more like an adventure. So I think essentially what they're trying to do is create a new type of race. So if you think that, imagine that this is the kind of race that Laz would come up with. Obviously, Laz famous for backyard ultras and all these different types of races that he comes up with. Something a bit different. So if you fancy something a bit different and being involved in this test race, then get in touch with Rasselbach, or get in touch with me, and I'll give you some more information. Pass you on to them. But basically, this is them saying we need more people to do it because it can't go forward as a race unless they've got enough people to kind of be guinea pigs for it. So get in touch with them. I'm sure that you'll be getting a cheaper rate to be a guinea pig for this race, as far as I know. So this could be the chance, actually, if you think about it. If this is something that takes off, this is your chance to sort of say, I was there first. I was one of the original crew to do this. So it could be sort of, a bit of kudos in being the first to do it. So get signed up. So that's advert for them done. The other one is um, an advert for the trainer drainer. So you may have seen this on social media. So there's a chap up in Sheffield, and at first he didn't want to have an advert put out because he was worried about the sort of demand that he's got for these. So people have seen them and they've taken off. But basically, it's like a 3D printed frame, and you put that. What I've been doing with mine is sticking it on the radiator. So all the water when you've been out in the rain or when you've washed your shoes just drips down into that tray. It doesn't go all over the floor. Zooming in into there we go. You can see it there, can't you? But it's really simple idea. Some of the best inventions are simple ideas, aren't there? So trainer drainer. So go on social media. I'll put a link to them and I'll tag them as well, so you can go and have a look at them. He sent me these for free, so I'm not sure how much they are, but you'll obviously see there's a Instagram page, so go and check them out. A local guy doing something good for the environment. Um, yeah, trainer. So, whew, you can see why I don't do adverts. Quite tiring. So I appreciate everyone listening. On to the good stuff now. On to the not that that wasn't good stuff. On to the actual podcast episode now. Okay. Right, yes, we are recording. So, welcome to the podcast for the first time, Daniel Holder.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having us on.
That's all right, mate. No worries. It's good to get you on. For the listeners, some sort of back reference that the reason why we're only doing this now is my fault because of scheduling. And I know that I use that as an excuse a lot on the podcast about scheduling for not getting podcasts out at the right time. But basically, the whole like spine is officially been sort of put to bed officially for this year. But this is one last podcast related to the spine because it is a spine race. It's not the traditional spine race that I normally talk about, it is the Arctic spine. So we're only just getting this recorded. You went on holiday. Did you have a nice holiday before we move on?
I had a good rest and recovery, and I'm feeling a lot better.
Good. Fresh and
I'm
ready to
almost
go.
starting to go running again. Actually, I am running again, just
That's
slow.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is good. Yeah, so that's a good turnaround. So, I was talking to a mate of mine who I used to coach many years ago, and he did the spine. He used to give me so much abuse about always getting on about the spine, and he did it for the first time this year in January, the winter spine. And he's like, "I'll take it all back now." He like he apologized, basically saying, there's a reason why you get obsessed with that race. But yeah, anyway, he was saying that he's sort of lacking a bit of motivation to start running again, but he has started to do a bit of running, and it's a bit of a weird thing, isn't it, with any big race that it takes you a while to kind of get your head around because you get so focused, don't you, on a big
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I've managed to mentally put it to bed. It was great, had a great time, and now I'm just happy to get on with life.
ne- the
And
next
not,
challenge. Yeah,
not think too much, not think too much about it. It was fantastic and I really enjoyed it, but you got to get on with everything else, haven't you? So,
yeah, that's it. Yeah, life doesn't stop, does it? Life carries
no.
on.
Yeah.
Um, right, Dan. So we need to do the obligatory superhero question. So
Okay.
if we're all superheroes in one way or another in this crazy sport that we choose to do, what is your superhero origin story? How did you become the Dan Holder that is on this podcast now, talking about your experience? Where go back as far as you like, as much or as little detail as you like.
Okay. Yeah. So, um, I think the easiest way to look at it was I grew up without a dad. He left before I was born, and my grandma took me running when I was 7.
Wow.
And then, so I started running with her when I was 7 at a club in Horsham, Sussex. And so I ran a lot from the age of 7 through to 19. No, well, no, probably 21 actually. I stopped running when I was 21 because I joined the military. I carried on running in the military, but I was carrying big weight and it ruined all my running. But I was fast. Um, so I did a lot of running when I was younger, joined the military, the Royal Marines, and that destroyed my speed. But I was super strong. Went to war, won Bronze Star with Valor, the sixth person in UK history to win that medal for saving people at war.
Wow.
Then out the back of that, got really bad PTSD and became an alcoholic.
Wow.
Left the military, and then I didn't run again until 2020.
Wow.
I left the military in 2014, and I didn't run again until 2020. And then I started doing park run. But between all that, I sorted out my complex PTSD. I built up a company, I sold the company, and then I started helping veterans with PTSD. And now I help everyone I do positive psychology for people, basically.
Mm.
Then I started running again, 5Ks, then moved up to 10K, and I thought I quit drinking, and then I thought I really always wanted to do an Ironman. So within a year of quitting drinking, I'd done Ironman Wales. Then I did Ironman Wales again. Then I thought I'd go and do an ultra, so I did 100K, and then it just kind of steamrolled from there, and here we
Spirals.
are. So I used to be a good runner, 31, 32 minute 10K, that kind
Wow.
of thing.
Nice.
So I was fast, and then just went off a cliff, and
Yeah.
life got a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and now and now I'm kind of back running, if you can call it that. But I've just been doing long stuff. But I have a bit of a plan to maybe go back to doing some fast stuff again.
Mm.
Now I've dipped my toe in some long stuff, so we'll see.
Yeah. It's funny that, isn't it? When you know that you've been fast in the past, and then you then start doing the longer, slower stuff. You kind of doesn't leave you, does it? You like you know that you want to get back to where you were, and I think, yeah, you're obviously going through the same thing. Not that I was ever a 30 odd minute 10K. I've never been that quick, but since going and doing the longer stuff, doing all the different spine races and stuff, I've slowed down massively, and it's kind of just you have to kind of accept it while you're doing it, and then you
Yeah,
purposely have to go back and change things that you and decide that you're gonna like this year for me. I've signed up for like I'm now doing two trail marathons this year. I was only going to be doing one, but it turns out I've got to do another one because I had to DNS another race last week. Um, in the hopes of trying to get a bit of speed back, sort of thing, after doing the longer, slower stuff. So
yeah.
how long ago was that then that you were that quick? Is it sort of like 10 years in between or more?
So I stopped running properly. I was that quick in 2028, 2020, 2008,
2008, yeah.
2007. Yeah. Yeah. So it's I'm nowhere near that now. Like I can go and do a park run and say, I'll go and do a park run. I'll do 17, 18 minutes.
I'd still be happy with that.
No, it's not bad, but um, I'm a lot heavier.
Yeah.
I'm a lot stronger,
Yeah, yeah.
and I do one other point is I do high altitude mountaineering in
Wow.
not a massive way, but quite a big way. I do
Yeah.
hard alpine style mountains where I carry everything, no guides. We do big climbing and ice
Yeah.
climbing and everything.
Right.
So and it's a big point to make when we talk about the Arctic
Mm.
spine, because my background is really Arctic, Nordic
Mm.
skiing, and slow, hard plodding with a lot of weight on,
Yeah.
which helps with races like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was going to be my next question. That obviously with that background, it's like the perfect race to pick, isn't it? So rather than most
Yeah.
people looking at the spine and going, "Oh, I want to do the traditional spine."
Sorry, just had to.
Props are falling
Someone's
down.
already got me over.
Um, yeah, most people would like from running look at the spine and think that's what I want to do eventually, and then um, and then don't really give the other stuff a thought. But obviously, you looked at the Arctic spine and thought that's right up my alleyway.
Yeah, so I was in the Royal Marines and we did quite a bit in Norway, and I was always super strong in Norway. And I'd always wanted to do something in the Arctic, like race wise.
Mm.
And then because I was always strong, I loved it there and I like operating in cold conditions. And then when I saw that race, I was like, well, not that many people finish it.
Mm.
I thought that's actually going to be like a proper test.
Mm.
Something that the likelihood of me finishing is quite low. So we'll see how far I can go and see what we can do. Obviously, yes, I finished, but um, it was hard. Like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
no joke.
Before we carry on, did you want to check your light to make sure it's not setting fire to your carpet or
No, no,
anything?
it's fine. Yeah,
It's
it's
all
all good.
right.
Just laying on the deck now.
Technical hitches. We're all good.
Yeah. So,
So so talk about your sort of your, if you don't mind talking about your sort of military pasts,
oh
and
no,
how
no,
that has
not at
kind
all.
of like influenced what you're doing now, kind of thing. So how long were you in the Marines?
I started as a reservist. It was when I was at university that I joined. And then I got my green beret. So I did Royal Marine Commando training whilst I was at university. And then as soon as I finished university, I went to 40 Commando in Taunton, joined a unit, and then ended up deploying to Afghanistan in 2010. Um, we had a super busy tour, I'd call it. We lost a lot of guys. I was point man in the troop as well, so I was literally first man in the patrol in a fighting patrol for the
Mm,
6 months, just
wow.
dodging bombs and getting shot at daily.
Mm,
So I was super lucky. Because we had a lot of casualties, I ended up doing a lot of casualty evacuations and trying to save a lot of people, and that's why I randomly ended up with a really high bravery medal, which kind of
mm,
came out of the blue as well. And that was the reason I ended up suffering because I won the medal, and then I got paraded around London and different places
mm,
to champagne dues, but the citation was read out all the time, and the citation reads, for me it was just
mm,
reliving my friends
mm.
dying all the time, and I
Yeah.
just had to go through it over and over and over again, and I
Mm,
ended up with really bad flashbacks and like night terrors, um, which took me a long time to sort out. So
yeah.
and that kind of was the catalyst, and then I ended up leaving as a result of it, and I didn't want to be in the military and things like that. And
Mm, yeah,
um,
fair enough. Yeah,
so
we're not
my
built for that.
fear
We're not
was,
built for that, are we?
say again.
We're not built for that, are we? Like for seeing those kind of things, are we?
The problem was the amount that I
Mhm.
did. So it just seemed to happen over and over and over again. I was involved in so many things that the likelihood
Mm.
of me being okay, I'd say, was
Yeah.
pretty low.
Mm.
And there wasn't many of us point men that came back. I was one of them, and I don't have like survivor's guilt or anything like that. My issues stem around not being able to save people.
Mm.
Not that now I've reframed it all and I look at things very differently, but back then it was a struggle and I was kicking myself for not being able to save people and things like that. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
but
understandable. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It
you,
gives
you,
me the power I have now comes from
yeah.
reframing that grief and loss and using it as a way, to really dig in deep when things get dark.
Mm.
Which when you
Yeah.
do, like when you do
Yeah.
races that long,
It
you
gets
have
dark.
dark moments and
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Just before we move off your military pass sort of thing, we ever the station down in Poole? You ever go down? Were you ever in Poole at the with the Marines down there?
No, no, I did bits down in pool, but not that much,
I
no.
just wondered if you knew a mate of mine. So he was in the Special Forces. Gary Bamford, his name
I
is. He was
don't
a
think
Special
so.
Forces guy. He was a Marine. Yeah, he was down there for a long time. But
Yeah, I've got a
I've
lot of
had
mates down at pool. But yeah, that
I've
was
had
the road I was heading.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and then decided that I don't think I'd be all right by the time I was 40 if I carried
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, he's, that conversation that we're sort of having now, I've had with him,
yeah,
where he's spoken about things that, things that's happened to him, things he's seen and can't unsee. And, but do you feel like people that come out of the military, I know that he sort of said this, that you feel like you need to be challenging yourself because you're so used to that kind of life. Um, you come out of the military and you've got to find focus and purpose again, haven't you? Was this like a natural thing for you to come out? And once you'd obviously been
yeah.
doing
I
this
think
sort
I
of thing.
think I put a lot into my old business, and stemmed it that way, and
Yeah.
that was fine, but it was never enough.
Mm,
And that's where the mountaineering came. And I basically decided to do all the things I enjoyed in the military
mm,
and do them in my personal life.
yeah.
And then the end was getting the running back,
Mm,
which was always a massive. I loved it when I was younger. I loved racing. I loved running. I loved track. So getting that back really was like the switch that really spurred me on to start doing stuff like this, basically.
mm,
But yeah, I do believe if you come from a military background, a lot of guys do go and do hard things because it just keeps
mm,
ticking. Um,
yeah.
and I enjoy it though. I like racing.
Mm. But you're also part of the same club as a lot of people are in ultra running and the long extreme stuff that have overcome an addiction as well, aren't you? So
100%.
being
Yeah.
an alcoholic and then quitting drinking. There's obviously, I mean, some people will say there isn't a correlation between it, but
There 100% is.
I've met a lot of ultra runners in my years, and a lot of them have been addicts in one way or another.
Yeah, if you're running a long race or whatever, and there's always a story. Most people,
Yeah.
everyone's got a story, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm struggling to find people that I've met in ultra running that have just gone, oh, and I just fancy having a go at doing like 100-mile race. Either, there's normally
Yeah, it didn't come out of
isn't.
nowhere, did it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and when you said at the start about not knowing your dad, for me, my dad died when I was a teenager. Stuff like
Yeah,
that. There's always a story, isn't there, of
yeah.
suffering and then weirdly using suffering as a way to cope with the suffering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Once you've processed it. Yeah, there's when it comes to, because I work with a lot of people when it comes to that stuff now.
Yeah.
I help people quit drink and I go through childhoods and all kinds of things. And,
Mm,
I was the oldest of four, different dad, obviously. Uh, and, I was like the father from a really young age. And then when
mm,
I grew up, the military was like my escape.
yeah.
And then, but you, but when you're like that, you then take it to an extreme. I didn't need to do the things I was doing at war. When I think about it now, I'm like, what the, what was I doing? It doesn't feel real now. Now I'm older
Yeah.
and processed it all, but you
Mm,
think about the risks I took, to try and save people and things like that. And that is what I was
mm,
doing in my family life as well, being the
yeah.
protector and this, it all makes sense now. But
Yeah.
when I'm doing it, when you're younger, your brain wasn't exactly firing for that reason.
Yeah. That's true. I think we're all as bad as each other. So how does that work practically now then? Are you helping people? Is it just ex-military people or is
No,
it
no, no.
still?
I have less military people than I do. So I work mainly with CEOs and business owners,
Right, yeah.
doing mindset work.
Mm,
That's a lot of my work. And
mm,
then I have a cohort of people uh, with the drinking. So quit, but it's not just drink. It's like cocaine, porn,
mm,
a mixture of things, habits.
mm,
Uh, and then I do general positive psychology work, so it's reframing all sorts of things. So people that
mm,
have had PTSD or grief or a whole manner of things to try and look at ways to reframe things to help them moving forward. So we'll go through their whole life and where they're not doing so well, create goals, and
mm.
yeah, it's great to be honest.
Is this something that you've sort of built up yourself with your own sort of experiences, or was there any sort of formal training that you wanted to do for
Yeah,
that?
I actually retrained properly in positive psychology, and I did like it was over a year long alcohol course to actually go through like a proper process.
Mm,
So yeah, I actually I retrained properly to do it
mm.
all.
Yeah. How do you do that? Do you have to go to like Open University, or is it just courses you can do?
It was, yeah, so like just over a year long course. Most of it was all online, and yeah, it's like academic based though.
Mm,
Um, yeah, a lot of writing.
yeah.
I had to relearn all that, and then you have to do certain amount of hours with people, and then I still have to check. The problem is not the problem, but same as therapy, you're constantly having people's issues all the time and you have to take it on. So I have supervision as well. So every other week I check in with someone and we go through
Mm,
issues and things. And uh,
mm,
yeah, it's great. And to be honest, I get great results. I've started working a bit more on real mindset work with some athletes because I can get a lot out of myself. I'm no elite athlete, but sometimes I put in pretty good performances. So I've started working with people and that's going really well as well. So it's kind of to be honest, I'm pulling
mm,
experience out of a lot of places to kind of
mm,
create something not unique, but individual for different people, depending on who they are.
mm. Yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing that I find reassuring is that for somebody to talk to me about that kind of thing, I want to know that they've had that experience in life and that
Yeah,
they're drawing on their own experience because it's different, isn't it? Because you hear about sort of people coaching as in like coaching plans for running and stuff, and you don't have to have done a race to coach somebody for a race. But
it,
if it's
yeah.
like mindset stuff, you want to know that somebody knows how to get the most out of themselves before you can kind of trust that they'll do that for you as well.
This whole world of what I do scares me. Some of the people I've met that do what I do, I have no idea how they got zero, like so many people with no real experience. Uh, I can see how it can get a bit of a bad name, and I can
Mm,
because there's especially on social media and things like that. There's all
yeah.
kinds of people
Charlatans.
who've done fuck all. Who are trying to teach people, and that it's not why I did the Arctic Spine for example. I did
Mm,
it for myself because
mm,
it's sort of something I always wanted to do,
yeah.
but at least it's some if someone's coming to me for mindset training, they know that I put myself through the mill.
Mm, yeah.
uh, and I have a process for that, and I'm nothing special. The same, none of us are, but I know how to push through, and I am resilient, and I work. The things I help people with, I practice myself,
Mm,
and at least that is proven when it comes to, and it's a good way of showing that you do actually practice what you preach.
mm,
It was never my intention, but people have contacted me after the race, being like, "Oh, I'd
mm,
like to know you know, how you got," because it's a very mindset heavy
mm,
experience, I would say,
mm,
um, especially in those conditions.
mm. Yeah,
Uh,
even more so. I mean, I haven't done anything like that other than sort of running in, deeper snow, but not, not no ski mountaineering, that kind of thing, and pulling a pulk or anything like that. So, but I know just traditional ultra running is mindset heavy, but you can get away a lot with fitness with that as well. But
yeah,
what you're doing maybe more so with the mind into it. Yeah.
the so obviously with ultra running, you can be quite controlling of what you do. So, like time
Mm,
frames, for example, every 45 minutes have a gel or eat something or drink, or you can be with this, you couldn't. So if you were that rigid in your mind that you've got to be set and you've got to do this, like you're gonna fall down. Like
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that I noticed was playing on people's minds because everyone's so used to doing
Yeah.
things a set way, set amount of
Mm,
miles, and this is what you do. And if you
yeah.
went in with that mindset on this race, you're going to have a really hard time. And then
Mm,
so I treated it more like an expedition.
yeah.
I did an ultra because for that reason, um, you still had to cover the mileage though.
Mm.
And
Do you think that's where people come unstuck then with those sort of races, is
yeah,
that they go into it thinking, well, I've done the spine X amount of times. This will be a doddle. Is that where they come unstuck?
I think it's just very different. Um, the winter spine's 260, 260. Like,
268, yeah,
yeah, if you
268.
think of the time span, it's a lot on your legs, isn't it? And in a relatively short period of time, the Arctic spine's a bit longer and you're going slower, but then you're
Mm.
dragging 40-kilogram sled. So
Yeah,
it's just so different.
I was going to say, for people sort of listening and watching this, they're used to me talking about the spine race and everything, and probably knowing the ins and outs of that. So
Yeah,
the Arctic Spine is a relatively new race. So is it second year or third year we're on now?
I think it's third.
Third year.
Yeah.
Just explain exactly what the race was that you did and everything that was involved with taking that on physically.
Yeah, so the Arctic Spine is the full race is 293 miles in northern Sweden in the Arctic in the winter. So it runs north to south on the Kungsleden Trail, which is the King's Trail. Um, the elevation's hard to find out exactly, but it's
Mm,
about 11 and I think it's between 11 and a half and 13,000 meters in elevation. Um, Mixed terrain, so there's mountains, lakes, some forestry areas. It's real mix as you go along. There's another two races. There's a 66-mile race, shorter, and 130, I think. And it's an A to B. There's checkpoints along the way. I think it's a very similar format to
mm,
the Winter Spine.
mm,
Um, but the same thing with checkpoints. They're tough. The cut-offs are tough. You got to cover approximately about 50K a day. Obviously, you want to press on and do more than that. But yeah, it works out about doing 50K a day, and you
mm,
are dragging. And some people ski, some people are on snowshoes. I was skiing.
mm,
Probably go into that in a bit, but I wasn't skiing for that long.
mm,
I was supposed to ski, but it ended up not happening. So you skiing or snowshoes or just in boots, and you're just moving from A to B as quick as you can. Um, and you've got to drag pretty much all your food. You've got to have a tent. Most of the time, you're sleeping in a tent.
mm.
And the average, most days it was minus 38.
Wow.
It was a pretty cold year.
Mm,
Got down in the 40s on one day, particularly, and plastic was snapping and all sorts. So your admin needs to be very good
mm.
to even just live in those conditions, let alone move 50K a day.
Because the way I sort of frame it is thinking about the traditional winter spine and how the checkpoints are there, and you would only ever like be stuck out of a checkpoint between a checkpoint. If you got caught in some bad weather or you specifically were so tired you had to bivvy in the middle of nowhere. But d- that's different in it with the Arctic spine, is that you are having to, how are the checkpoints set up? Are they, because we're so used to seeing the traditional spine of, or we can name all of the checkpoints because they're so familiar
Yeah,
to us, and what food you're going to get there and everything, and that there's a comfortable bed there, reasonably comfortable bed, and a fire
yeah,
and hot
yeah.
food.
So it's billed as a self-supported race. You're not allowed to sleep in the checkpoints, so you can get hot water there, and that's
So
it.
that's the opposite of the spine.
There's no sleeping in the Yeah, there's no sleep. I don't know the full logistics of the winter spine because I've never done
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, you can't sleep in the checkpoints.
mm,
That's a no.
yeah,
There are huts along the route that if they're open, you can use them.
yeah.
Twice I tried to get in and they were locked and I couldn't get in. So I ended up in my tent most of the time.
Oh man,
I did manage to sleep in one safety hut one night, and then one towards the end, I made some food, and then I just cracked on. But
yeah.
the yeah, that's a big difference.
Mm.
And then
How
obviously being that
I can't imagine setting a tent up in minus 30 plus. So how does that work and how do you because I don't know enough about like, mountaineering and Arctic adventures to know what kit you need to be able to do
yeah,
that
so
and to not
you
risk
need
dying.
one thing I spoke about quite a lot about this is that I wouldn't worry about if I was to people have asked me about doing this race, and the first thing I say is, "What's your admin like in Arctic conditions?" And if they're like, "Well, I've only done a bit," then I'd say, "Well, you need to do more,"
Mm,
because unless you are really, really proficient in the cold, and I mean using gloves for everything, and you know exactly what you're doing, it's going to be super hard.
mm,
There was a bit of frostbite this year. Some people got. You need to be able to do everything with gloves on. I didn't take from the moment I left, unless I was in one of the checkpoints, I had gloves on the whole time and I can do everything with gloves on.
mm.
And you need to be able to do everything, and I mean everything with gloves on. There's no taking them off. There's no because it's literally 30 seconds and
Wow.
you're gonna get frostbite or you can't touch any metal. You can't.
Mm,
It is that bad.
yeah,
There's no, two ways about it. The same as you need to know how to look after your feet and you need to know when to check on yourself and how to hydrate and keep your water bottles from freezing. And,
mm,
you can't have a bladder in minus 38. Some people had them and you have a trick of blowing it all back in and it doesn't
yeah,
freeze.
yeah.
But that don't happen in minus 38. The whole thing will
Mm.
freeze. It's not. So you need to have that stuff really dialed down before you do it, which I do. So,
Mm,
I'm not lucky. It's just one, it used to be my job, and two, I've done a lot of mountaineering.
mm,
And when it starts blowing a gale, which it does in the Arctic, and you're trying to put up a tent and you're really tired and you've got sleep
yeah.
deprivation, that's when you take off your gloves and you do something really quickly,
Mm,
and all of a sudden you've got frostbite within a minute.
mm,
It's and frostbite means you're taking out the race. Pressing your SOS button on your tracker means you're taking out the race. So the
mm,
DNF potential, and I can completely see why a lot of people don't complete the race
yeah.
because there's just so much against you. Um, so me and the guy that won, Bjorn, teaches people Arctic, and he's a fantastic Nordic skier. He lives in those conditions all the time. Me and him, I would say, were stand out when it comes to administration and looking after
Mm,
ourselves, and we were the ones that finished. Were we
mm,
the best athletes? Probably not. But we were easily the best when it comes to administering ourselves in those
yeah.
conditions. And I
Mm,
think that was the big difference.
mm,
Obviously, we're like, I'm not saying I'm not good at covering the distance and I'm not strong, but I'm not. There were some lads behind me that are much better runners than me, much, much better. A lot of guys that have completed the winter spine without any problems whatsoever.
mm,
But in this race, it doesn't matter if how strong you are if you can't look after yourself properly. So
yeah.
it's like not a word of caution, but if you're going to do something like that, really hone in on your admin more than your fitness first.
Mm. It's tricky. It's tricky, isn't it? Like,
Oh, it's a big balancing act, that race.
because the way I'm thinking is that you don't because we don't have those conditions over here, do we? It's
No.
hard to kind of get your head around having to do those kind of things. And as you were saying that, I had a flashback to when I did the full winter spine in 24, January 24. And I only had one moment of going, it was we had a lot of snow and I was going over Crossfell, came over Crossfell past Greg's Hut down the other side. Well, I hadn't quite got to Greg's Hut at that point. I think I was going over High Cup Nick, so that's before you drop down and then go up to Crossfell. Um, and my water bottles, both of them froze up, and that's never ever happened to me
Yeah,
in any scenario I've ever been in, because unless that's unless those that specific situation happens to you, you've never dealt with it before. Every run I'd ever done, even though I tried to go out in the worst weather I could just to get used to just being in bad weather, still nothing prepares you for the fact that you go to get a drink and it's your
and it's
water
not there
bottles are
yet.
frozen. It's just a block of ice. And
Yeah,
that took me by surprise. And I remember thinking, if this happens again, what do I do? How do I get around this sort of thing? But fortunately, it didn't, because that was the highest point in the race,
yeah, yeah.
like Crossfell and everything. And by the time I'd got to like Greg's Hut, they'd like defrosted anyway, and I got in there and warmed up a bit, and that wasn't the problem. But the fact that you want to be specific with your training, don't you? So how do you sort of prepare as somebody who lives in this country? How do you prepare for going into Sweden, the north of Sweden in the Arctic Circle? How do you prepare over here for those kind of conditions?
So I obviously didn't. I ran through using my kit all the time, but I have so much more experience from being in Arctic conditions back when I was in the military and the
Yeah.
mountain. So I didn't train specifically for looking after myself because I knew I could look after myself. But for people that were there, they go on courses. You go on courses, and then learn how to look after yourself and administer yourself and do everything you need to do. Um,
That's on the same trip. Do people do that on the same trip, do
They
they?
do it on the shorter race
Yeah.
on the 66-mile race. You get a training course before it as part of the package, and I think
Right.
that's fantastic. And all that I think apart from one, all those people did finish that 66-mile race and all managed to look after themselves really well.
Mm,
So I would say if you are looking at doing something like that, that's probably the best way to do it. And then if you want to go the next year and do the longer
mm,
one or the one in the middle, or if you don't have any proper winter experience, I think that's the
mm,
safest way to do it because
mm,
I think people need to understand that the consequences on that race when I was in the middle of nowhere and it's minus 38 and I'm
mm,
hallucinating and the engine's going and I'm just plowing through, I know that I can look after myself and
mm.
still put up my tent and still administer myself because of my experience.
Yeah.
But you could get in real trouble really quickly if you weren't that experienced. Say you pressed on and you thought, sod it, I'll be all right. I'm strong or whatever.
Yeah.
Like frostbite's a real thing and
Mm,
it could, debilitate you for the rest of your life quite easily.
mm,
So I did. It's just like a word of warning that
Consequences.
yeah, and they do check. There's quite a stringent. I don't know how much they follow it, but you have a meeting with Phil, and he runs through, what you need to basically have achieved and
Yeah.
experience you've had beforehand in order
Yeah.
to get into the
Yeah.
longer race. And you should have, if you've gone in it, you should have good experience and stuff.
Mm,
Um, but people still get into trouble. But it's so easy to have a problem on it.
yeah.
Um, it doesn't take a lot to fall off your skis or have problems
Mm.
um, but yeah, there's just a lot to it. It's
Consequences are high, aren't they, with making a
Yeah, and
mistake?
I just wouldn't want to, it's a fantastic race. It really is. It's beautiful. The route is unbelievable. It's hard. It's fantastic. But I wouldn't want to say to people, you got to be prepared for it to be a hard time and not finish. It's not the
Mm.
same as a lot of races where, I'll finish, but I probably won't do the time I want. It's not like that. It's
Yeah.
the likelihood of DNFing is really high because there's so many things that can happen in that duration of time. With conditions changing, it only takes one storm, and if
Mm.
you're not good at moving through a storm and know how to look after yourself, you're going to be in your tent stuck. Like that's
Yeah.
it. Uh,
Yeah.
and with the water bottles, I had one night where I was out of water, and then I had to make a decision. It was either stop, make water. It was like it was in the -30s, but I stopped. I had 2 hours. I put up my tent quickly, got in, 2 hours sleep. I knew I had 27K to go to the next checkpoint, and I know I can do 27K without any water. I know I
Mm,
can do that, so I did it,
mm,
and that was 300K into the race.
mm.
But you got to know you can
And
do
do
that,
that. Mm.
and
So you
and
got to know yourself inside out.
yeah, you got to really be okay with who you are, because there was so many points where I wanted to quit. Uh, but I wasn't there for ego or to do. I just wanted to finish and test myself and see how far I
Mm,
could go. And and just confirm that I am who I think I am.
mm,
And that is great. But if
mm,
you were there thinking, "Oh, I'm strong and I can do this," and that's where I think it all goes wrong. And you really got to be bothered. I think being bothered is the word of the day.
mm.
And
Yeah.
I had one evening. So after 2 days, two big holes in my heel. Basically, my ski boots were not okay for me. I trained in them and I did a lot in them. They were fine, but with those distances,
Mm.
they just destroyed my feet. I ended up switching them for a pair of Innovate rock lights. I just whacked on a pair of Innovate rock lights, and from day two, I just stomped out the rest of the race over 200
Wow.
miles in a
Oh,
single skin
wow.
pair of Innovates.
Wow.
And then I was breaking trail one night for 3 hours up to my knees, and I was thinking, I'm in. The weather was bad. I couldn't really feel my feet, and I was like, right. And this is what I mean by being bothered. I set up my tent, which is a pain. Set
Mm,
up my tent, got in my tent, took my boots off, and my feet were steaming. And I was like, oh, I'm fine. It's all right. But you've got to be bothered to check things like that, because if
yeah.
you don't,
Mm.
it doesn't take a lot, and then all your toes are white and you're in
Ooh.
trouble. Um, but it's a pain in the ass.
Mm.
Things take hours rather than.
Especially if you're thinking about like your position maybe in the race, if you are thinking
That's
about
what I
that,
mean.
and
Yeah,
then you got
yeah.
to you
You can't
you make
forget
a
all
decision to stop.
that. Yeah. It's the same as I know I didn't think about any of that the whole entire race. I didn't know where I was till later on.
Mm,
I think there was four of us left. There were two ex-military guys behind me who were really strong. That's when I found out there was only four of us left, and then
mm,
by the time I got to the checkpoint, I knew they weren't going to make it. Pretty much knew they weren't going to. And then I knew there was only two of us left, but
mm.
Bjorn was so far ahead of me, it didn't matter anyway. But the whole racing thing just really goes out the window
Goes
for
out the
that,
window.
and that's
Yeah.
why I treated it like an expedition. So I basically would get to 50K. I'd hit 50K for the day, and then I'd be like, if I feel okay, I'll press on. If I can't, then I'll make sure I rest and drink and administer
Mm,
myself. I was just lucky that my legs just didn't go off. They just felt strong the whole race, so I was lucky.
yeah, that's pretty good.
You know
Um,
when you get that race where you just feel good.
yeah,
Does happen.
few and far between.
Yeah, they are, yeah. But when they're firing, I'm like I'm using
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do it. Yeah, you got to use them while you've got them, haven't you?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Um,
100%.
this might be self-indulgent of me, but you mentioned hallucinations. Now, I'm a big
Oh
fan.
yeah,
I'm a big fan of hallucinations on
same.
racing. What do you? Because I all of my best hallucinations were on that winter spine where because of the snow and the snow like gave me some weird stuff. I thought I'd saw like
Exactly that.
my dog that had died like 10 years ago. I was convinced that my dog was there waiting for me and I had a conversation with it in the snow because she was a husky. So I revel in, and I know some people I've interviewed and they go, "Oh, I'm not interested in hallucinations because I know they're not real." I'm like, no, that's like the thing that I love is like talking about a
What
hallucination.
is real?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was bold. So obviously I'm wrapped up, right? So
Mm.
I've
Yeah,
got
so your
like a letter.
visions,
I've
yeah.
got a letterbox. head
So
torch.
that, of course, them at the best of times anyway, wasn't it? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And then obviously head torch and the shadows. Every shadow was a different type of wizard as I was going along. The trees on tree sections, they're all covered in snow
Oh,
and they make
yeah.
crazy shapes.
Yeah, I bet they
Like
do.
crazy shapes. They're all different animals. I was every like dead tree stump was a different person. It was pretty wild. And then obviously most nights, I think apart from one night, the Northern Lights were insane. So I've
Wow.
got
Yeah,
like
I've
a
seen
huge light
photos.
show and you're just going through with
That
that.
must have been so cool, though.
Amazing,
Going.
like
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. And I'm good with that. I'm good with the hallucinations and I know what's happening and
Mm.
I just embrace it and suck it
Yeah.
up and really enjoy it.
Mm.
Um,
I'm the
there were some
same.
really dark times too. Sometimes the wizard, and the trees turned into like horrible ones and like devilish and
Ooh.
but it was I'm fascinated in that stuff and I really enjoy it. Um, but
I've
it's,
seen the
it's
I've
so
seen.
intense.
I'd imagine the so are you thinking about like and is are there any animals out there? What are what would
There
you
was
potentially
some
see?
moose.
Moose, wow, they can be big anyway, can't they?
They were massive. Yeah, I
Mm.
only saw them once. A whole load of them came out, like looked at me and then ran off.
Right.
I saw them once, and that was during the night, and I was off Morocco,
Yeah.
just plowing away, and I saw one mouse just in the river, and that's it. I
That's
mean,
it.
it's pretty. I
Bleak.
barely saw
Yeah.
anyone. I bumped into one person who wasn't in the race, who was a young Swedish lad who was in the military and he was coming the other way and he was just out skiing for like 2 months.
Oh, actually real. It was actually
A
real.
real
Yeah.
person, yeah. And I spent a bit of time with the two guys that were behind me.
Mm.
And then once they dropped, and then I was on my own for 150 miles or something,
Wow. Yeah.
just in the middle of the Arctic.
Mm.
But I love that, and I like the internal battles, and I like wanting to quit and not quitting, and obviously there's a difference between wanting to quit and actually quitting, and it's I enjoy all that battle and the mental space, and but the hallucinations were next level in that race. I trying to
It's,
keep myself awake. I used to live in Brighton, and I used to go to a Buddhist chanting evening.
oh, right.
And
Yeah.
I was doing some
Doing
Buddhist
that.
chanting, and it was just fantastic. Northern Lights, and I'm like "Rah," going along and singing, and also it was great.
Yeah, that does sound fun. I kind of I really enjoy like the night sections on ultras. Like a lot of people sort of, they're like, oh, couldn't wait for like the sun to come up and it for it to be daylight. And I'm like, I quite like being just the light of my head torch and just seeing stuff and imagining stuff that's there. I remember seeing saw the Grim Reaper stood at the side of the trail, like watching down on me. I don't know what that subliminally means for my race. I remember going through Kielder Forest and and like look, just turning my head torch and stopping and just like pointing my head torch into the forest and just seeing loads of eyes all staring back at me. And I'm like, still to this day, I don't know whether they were actually there or not. I'd imagine
Yeah.
some of them probably were. There must have been animals in there.
On
Oh,
the last leg, which I actually is not there was the last basically I got to a hut in the last 24 hours. I was like, I'm not going to sleep. I'm just going to push through. So I got to a hut. I made some food, and then there's a 5 kilometer stretch with 700 meters of elevation, and I'm just like powering away, just going for it. And it's 25K for me to get to the finish. I'm just going and going and going, and then you get into the town, and it's like a ski resort,
mm.
and I'm following beyond the winners' ski tracks and just trying to like shuffle along, move myself along. And the same thing, I'm like looking and I'm like, don't look at it, it's like the devil. And but one of the guys from the race was on a tree like next to a tree, like to tell me I'll head down there down towards the finish. And I thought he was a hallucination and just completely blanked him. He was like, "You didn't even look at me." I was like, "I didn't want to look at you because I was like, I was having a
Or you
dark
weren't
moment."
real.
And yeah, it was just funny because then he was like, "Yeah, you completely just fell past me, just ignored him." Because I was seeing so much stuff, and that's what you just start seeing all kinds of crazy things. Yeah, by then I was like, I just want to finish.
Mm.
I'm done with this.
Yeah, yeah. How,
But
how do you how did you do you sort how did you feel afterwards? So I know that with big stuff, if you've got like a big enough why to do something, and if it means something to you, Um, I've seen with being involved with the spine and stuff over the years, I've seen so many people like get to the finish at Kirkyatam and being like floods of tears and completely emotional and stuff. Then when I did it, I was completely devoid of all emotion by the time I got to the finish. But during the race, I was up and down here all over the place. But when I got to the finish, I was like zero emotion. I was like,
yeah,
job done. I'm done. I'm done now. It's okay. How
I
did you
think a
feel
lot
about
of
it?
I completely understand what you mean, and I think a lot of my emotion comes out during the race.
Mm.
Um, like my when I was saying about reframing the grief. I use the loss of my friends as like power and
Yeah.
purpose to do things, and that was a big part of that. And I felt like I had my four friends helping me along, and I get all that emotion whilst I'm moving through the
Yeah.
day and stuff like that. And to be honest, when I got to the end, I was just happy to finish. And you think. You build up for the finish and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be like this. And then you get there and you're like, oh, I'm just glad I'm done. And I was a bit like that. And I expected to be more
Yeah. More elated. Yeah.
emotional and
Mm.
and you know I'm quite out there with my emotions and happy to express them and stuff like that. But to be honest, I was just tired. I was tired and I needed water,
Yeah.
and I did let out a bit of a roar at the end. Uh, but yeah, yeah, I thought I was going to be a bit more poetic
Mm.
finish and be like, oh yeah, what an event and all this. I wasn't. I was just like, thank you so much. I'm not doing that again. Get me back. I want some water and some pancakes, please.
Do they do the same thing at the end of that race that they do on all of the spine races, which is somebody comes out to meet, everyone claps for you, and then they talk to you at the end, like they stand there and say, such and such, you battled through this, this, and this, and you've done this. And every time they do it to me, because I've done so many different spine race, like different distances and stuff, every time I'm always like, you don't need to, it's me. You don't need to go through all this again. You can just say, well done, you've finished. You don't need to do the whole speech and stuff. Did you have all of that?
Yeah, yeah. I got to the end, pressed the Kungsleden Trail like
Yeah,
sign,
that's
and
the
then
one.
Phil's like, "How was it?" Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "Yeah, it was all right." Yeah, just like I didn't even. Yeah, and I think I'd spent so many hours like rehearsing what I was going to say, and just none of it
Yeah.
happened. I was pretty gassed by the end. I put in a big turn. I think I put in just over 75K and a one at the end.
Wow.
Um,
Still,
and
still in the innovates.
yeah, I did the whole thing. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's a good advert for Innovate. Have they been in touch?
No, no one's interested. But yeah, I mean, I was surprised because I've been on some big mountains and my feet get, I was on Denali in 2024. I was minus 40 on the summit there. My feet were
Wow.
cold in 7,000 meter boots,
Wow.
double skin, big boots. And I was in minus 38, minus 40 in a single skin pair of Innovates, and my feet were fine.
Yeah.
And I think
That
it's
could,
just
yeah.
it's just because I just kept powering on.
Mm.
So the movement, I'm quite hot. I run really hot.
Mm.
That really helped, I think.
Yeah. Great advert for Innovate though. If you, I'm going to tag them in the social media post about this.
Yeah, please
So,
do. And that
really good.
and I wore Paramo top and trousers,
Yeah.
and they were fantastic. And I actually got it to test out on this for mountains. Uh,
Mm.
And I was amazed at how good the Paramo stuff was in those conditions. I'm not saying it would be any good in other conditions, but in super cold conditions,
Mm.
that gear was fantastic. Uh,
Yeah.
I
I
really,
think Paramo is the stuff that they don't allow you to use on the spine, isn't it? I think.
I don't know. I mean, I think it'd
Because
be a
it's
bit
not
heavy for
waterproof.
that, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's not waterproof, is it? But it's super
It's
warm, isn't
not
it?
water. I mean, it's waterproof, but it's
Yeah.
use your
That's
body
it.
heat to dry
I
out
think
and
I
stuff like
think
that.
that's it. I think
Yeah.
that's the reasoning behind it is that it's appreciated as being good kit, but it's not because the spine is normally just wet, not miserable.
I
It's
think yeah, and obviously with this, it's so cold that
yeah.
I was sweating quite a lot.
Mm,
They've got such good vents that I could vent myself really well, and
mm,
it just held up really well.
mm,
And it was waterproof enough to like kneel in the snow
yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's good for those conditions, but I think if it was raining all the time, it'd just be miserable.
Yeah.
Need like proper Gore-Tex basically or
Yeah.
whatever it
Yeah. Which is you're talking spine territory there, aren't you? Yeah,
and
definitely.
then like kit wise, and then a lot of people, I go down the Norwegian route. I was wearing particular Norwegian like merino wool underlayers and stuff like that, which are just made for Nordic skiing and those
Mm.
conditions. I didn't, you
Is
know,
that certain brand? Is that a certain brand, is it? Or is it?
a climber is the
Mm.
brand. I had a specific top that I had on the whole time that's got like really good wristlets, thumb loops. So my
Mm.
hands were pretty much always covered. It had a hole for my watch and kept it like a bit warmer. Uh,
Mm.
just
Did you have any trouble
literally
with just thinking about that while you were there,
tech, yeah.
like with tech, like what happens with those temperatures? Because I've had my watch go, a brand new Garmin go wobbly, just just up on the moors in the cold sort of thing. So
I did. So you had to have a handheld GPS device. So I got a Garmin 67i, I think it was, and I
mm,
didn't really want to buy it because I don't normally use them. I normally use a watch. Anyway, I bought it because it was part of the mandatory kit list, which is fair enough and makes sense. It died and lasted 10 minutes because it was so cold. It just did not,
wow.
it wasn't okay. So luckily, I've got my watch.
Mm,
I've got a Coros Apex 4, and it was fantastic from the moment I started all the way to the end. I charged it up once
that's good. Yeah, they're known for having
on a
good batteries,
full
aren't they? Yeah.
GPS as well.
Wow. I know
And
that.
and for 450 quid, I I think it's amazing. And
Yeah.
also I did a lot of the recce's. I'm quite good at map reading, which is another thing that's really important for this
Yeah.
race. Because 300 there is a route to follow, but if you followed the route you'd have a really hard time if you followed the exact route. You need to be able to understand about ice and where to go that would save you effort and time and not get you in trouble. So you
Mm,
need to be able to relate yourself to the ground really well. And this was the watch was really good for that. But also the Coros maps like on my phone are all
mm,
3D, and I could really work everything out before I got there. I had proper maps as well, but I could do a really good map study using the app that it comes with.
ah,
The 3D maps were fantastic. Just
yeah.
for
No.
me, I'm quite good at visualizing where I am on the ground.
Mm,
It just meant that I could really do a proper decent map study before I went, um, which I do think made a big difference. Me and the winner took a detour that well, to be honest, we were the only ones left by then, but we
mm,
both did good map studies before, and we both took a big detour that the race weren't expecting.
yeah.
We did it because we both looked at it and gone, that's not a
Yeah.
safe route to go. And we both
Yeah.
took exactly the same route, and it was 4K longer, but it saved so much time and it was a lot
Mm,
safer. But you would only have done that if you'd done a proper map study, and
yeah.
if you'd followed the route, you would have been in trouble
So you knew
just
what
because of
you
the
were
snow
going into.
conditions and the way the ground lies.
Yeah. So and the way that I'm hearing you talk about this race is the way that I used to hear people talk about the spine to me sort of X amount of years ago before,
Before
probably
everyone knew the
like
route.
like in the early 2000s. Not in the early 2000s, but like in I think the first spine race I did was that I did the sprint in 2021 that was. So I've been around the race for about 5 years, five,
Yeah.
6 years now. And the way that you're talking about the race, the Arctic spine, is how I felt when I first started to hear about the spine and all of the so many different things that you've got to think about, things you've got to prepare for. But then you find that once you're sort of in that world, you start to pick things up. But then you've got that background, haven't you? That you've come from a mountaineering background, ex-military. You've done all that kind of stuff. How realistic is it for someone that's listening to this, who obviously listens to my podcast because they listen about all the spine races and stuff? For one of them that was thinking, I've done the spine X amount of times, done it in harsh weather. I'm pretty good at looking after myself. How realistic is it for somebody to then move up to then and do the Arctic spine races?
I the first thing I'd say is, can you ski? Because if I was to do it again, I'd 100%. I'd sort out my boot issues, but I would Nordic ski. Like skiing it is way favorable.
Mm,
Um, so you need to be half decent at Nordic skiing,
mm,
which is a big thing. You
mm,
can do what I did and stomp it out. It's clearly doable, but then it
mm.
just depends on
Harder. Mm,
and then it depends on the conditions. Because going into that race, you don't know. I think the year before it was really warm at the beginning and then got cold and there wasn't as much snow. So it meant at some bits you could move a lot faster and it was harder on the ground. But at the same time, you couldn't ski as much. So if you were a
mm.
skier, it was quite hard the year before, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but then you don't have the frostbite issues and everything that come with it being super cold. So there's a trade-off, but you've got to be. I kind of tried to prepare myself because you have no idea what the conditions are going to be. But in general conditions, you want to be able to Nordic ski. So even if you're a good ultra runner and stuff, I think you really want to be skiing it.
Mm,
You could do it in snowshoes and stuff. It's just so much harder.
yeah.
Um,
So
and
would you have been a lot closer to him then, but if you'd stayed
I
on ski?
think so. He did it the year before. He did the middle race the year before, and he knows. I think he skied it the first time when he was 11. So he's that kind of guy.
Got some
He's an
experience.
amazing guy and super strong Nordic skier, and he'd done it the year before, so he picked up loads of tips on how to have his kit. He was carrying 20 kilos, and I was carrying 40.
Ooh,
Like the
yeah.
difference is
Mm,
massive
mm,
because he knew exactly what he could. And if I did it again, I would do similar to what he did.
mm,
I'd have racier skis. Um, I'd have lighter weight boots. I didn't go for the like big Arctic boots or anything. I had like middle of the range, but they're still too heavy and not ideal for moving fast.
mm,
So I would change my boots. I would probably have different skis, and I would have a backpack set up with plastic on the back so that I could drag it on the flats and put it on for going up and down hills.
all right.
Because like I used to in the military, but I never
Mm,
thought of that because all I'd seen is the way everyone's doing it. And this is
mm.
this is the thing with new races, like people still working out how to do it.
Figuring it out.
And
Yeah.
then, and that's what I had to do. I just had to do the best I could with what I had.
Yeah.
If I was to do it again, it'd be very different.
Mm. It is very similar in the way that the spine sort of progressed as a race as well. That when that started out, whatever, 10 or 11 years ago, that there was only so many actually got to the finish. And every
Exactly.
year, more and more people have got to the finish to the point where it became a thing that a lot of people could finish it. So do you think it's going to be a similar thing that
I
over
think
the
so.
years people will
Yeah.
pick up the knowledge?
Yeah, I think so. I think the other thing to bear in mind is the cost element of a UK person getting themselves to the required administration level to
Mm,
be able to then do it is going to cost a lot more. So I think that race is going to cost a lot compared to like doing the winter spine. I mean, even
Mm.
the
That
entries.
costs enough anyway.
Yeah, yeah, is that costs enough anyway? But then the Arctic spines,
Yeah.
I reckon it cost me in the region of 10 grand.
Yeah.
And I was
That doesn't surprise
probably the
me.
second lightest when it came to money,
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
because I had most of the kit anyway.
Mm.
So it's a massive undertaking and then massive costs. And then to be able to, if you don't know how to look after yourself in the Arctic, then you've got to go on training courses and do
Yeah.
things, maybe other trips beforehand. So it's just a lot to it. It's really,
Mm.
but I mean, I really recommend it for people. Experience wise, it was amazing.
Mm.
Um, and
Yeah.
I actually would like to do the winter spine, and I think I probably will do it at some point if I can.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah. I'm sure you probably quite easily get a place on that after your ex. They're not going to be questioning your experience, that's for sure.
I should be all right. Yeah, I should be all right. I mean, but then it comes with different challenges, doesn't it? Being
Yeah.
wet
Yeah.
for that long.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah.
Um, but what I would like the spine, like, like the race staff and the mayor, they were all like so fantastic, and I
Yeah.
felt really like afterwards they were so nice, and I spent some good time with them afterwards and stuff
Mm.
like that. It was just fantastic people.
Yeah.
And it was just nice to be in that environment with great
Mm.
people doing big things, and
Mm.
yeah, the actual overall experience was really fantastic, and I've got
Yeah.
nothing bad to
Yeah.
say about any of it really.
Yeah. They're great guys, aren't they? Like John Bamber and Dean Reed and everything.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolute characters.
Did you get chili noodles from John Bamber?
No,
No, you must keep that specifically for the spine race
no,
then
yeah,
when
no
he's
one's
not
allowed to make you any
grateful.
food at all.
Ah, okay.
So there's no like, you
Yeah,
have
I
to
forgot
be
about that. Yeah.
completely
Self-sufficient.
self-supported. They'll boil the water for you, but you're not allowed any like assistance when it
Mm,
comes to that or anything like that, which
wow.
is quite.
Definitely no noodles from John Bamber then.
No, no, I'd love to have some noodles from John. The other big thing that I would like to mention,
Mm,
just because it was a really important thing for me, 'cause just if someone is listening to this and they're going to do it, I did a load of research. I've been on a lot of mountains where I've had chest issues with the cold
mm,
and getting chest infections and things like that. So I did a load of
yeah.
research and found a mask that really helps just warm up the air going in and out. And anyway, day one, I didn't wear it. And by the end of day one, I was coughing up, there's stuff coming out of my lungs. And I ended up getting antibiotics from the med team.
Oh, wow.
I was quite bad. Stuck my mask on, which has changed the game completely. I
Mm,
kept it on the whole rest of the race, and it meant I could lay down the power. I could go all day, and I felt really good. It was
mm,
so it's worth looking into stuff like that. Just made a huge difference. It's those little things that can make a massive difference.
yeah. So that mask is that's the thing that we saw Sebastian Raikon wearing, who won the spine in
Probably,
Germany.
yeah.
He was
I
wearing a
got it
mask.
from I got it from mountaineers I know, like
Yeah, well,
real hardcore mountaineers.
yeah,
Yeah, he
he's got a
probably does.
mountaineering background. Yeah, so I'm
That's
guessing
yeah,
that's why.
exactly that. Yeah, yeah, and a lot of biathletes wear them, and those guys are monsters
Mm.
because breathing in that air. Like a lot of them have issues with asthma later on in life just because of the dry,
Oh,
horrible
really?
air. And so they've all started wearing the mask, and it really made a
Preventative.
huge difference.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. That's good tip. What's are you going to go back? And if you never go back, if you if it is it one and done, or is it a case of you think about the race in years to come, and then you think, oh, I might go back and do that.
I I definitely would go back. I would like to go back and do it now I know what I know. I would like to see what I could do. Um, Now I've got some actual experience of the race. I think I'd do
Mm.
it. I think I could go a lot quicker.
Yeah.
I do think I could go a lot quicker.
Mm.
So I would like to do it again. Whether that would be next year or the year, I don't know at the moment.
Mm.
I've got other plans and things I want to do in the mountains as well. And I'm
What
doing
is
the
the plan for the rest of the year then? For the rest of this
I'm
year, what are
doing
you?
race across Scotland in August. I'm
Nice.
still
Yeah.
umming and ahhing about that as well. But I think that's 215 miles.
Yeah.
So I'm
That's
running that.
not as snowy.
Huh?
Not as snowy.
No, and I suffer in the heat, so I'm sure it's going to be horrendous. So yeah, I got race across Scotland, and we'll see how we go with that. As long as I do it, and then I would like to do some. I moved to Chester 6 months ago
Mm,
just to train in the mountains more and
mm,
do a bit more around this way. And I would like to do just some more local races and get a bit quicker again, like what we were talking about earlier.
yeah.
So a bit of that, and then race across Scotland. I probably will do. I would like to do one of the spine races in the UK. I think that'd be great, just because I thought
Mm,
everyone was great, and
yeah.
it'd just be nice to do.
You know half the team already, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, just maybe get a bit quicker. Stop this plodding. I
Yeah.
do. I race. So if I race like 100K with 2,500 meters of elevation or free, I run like 11 and a half hours or 11 hours, which is okay. But I feel like I could, if I actually started training to get quick again, I could actually go quite
Mm,
quick and maybe put in a good 100-mile performance and
mm,
be nice to maybe be a bit racier. Uh,
mm.
see how I can go.
Yeah, well, all the best with that, mate. I'm sure that you'll get,
Thank
when
you.
you've got that sort of history of no of being fast previously, then your body will remember it, won't it? And it's just a case of unlocking it
Hopefully.
again, isn't it?
I mean,
Yeah.
it's still all as painful as,
Yeah, it's always
if not
painful.
more. I've got all the ailments of years of ice climbing and smashing myself up and being blown
Yeah,
up multiple times, but you
yeah,
know.
that doesn't help.
Ah.
Amazing. Well, I appreciate you coming on, mate, and telling your
It's an absolute
story.
pleasure
It's
and
it's been
thank you,
it's
appreciate
been
it.
good, and I'm slowly starting to sort of piece together, what the Arctic spine is like, and I'm looking forward to like every year having people on to talk about it. I'm known for talking about the winter spine, so it can be my next project to talk about the Arctic spine as well. So appreciate you coming
Yeah.
and sharing a bit of your
I
knowledge and
don't ever want to
experience.
be I just want to be realistic about it when it comes to what it can be like, which is pretty extreme.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
it's good. Yeah, it's good to know that. Yeah, I think you can have a bit of a romanticized view of things when you see social media and you see, oh yeah, that looks, chuck a pair of skis on and off you go. It's not quite that, is it?
no. But fantastic and well worth, if you've done all the training and you're prepared for it and and I'm always open to anyone can contact me to ask me stuff about it as
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
well.
That's a good resource.
I
Yeah.
talk to people all the time. Nothing's a drama, and I'm always happy to talk to people. So
Brilliant. Right. I'll make sure that everyone knows that. So you'll be
thanks.
inundated with questions. So appreciate you coming on, mate. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for doing that. Talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye 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 bye.